I wrote this one when I was 16. All right, go. What a beautiful day to be a jellyfish. Let the wind control, let the sun sink in. Got a book in my hand and a smile on my face. I kinda like this place. With my hands in my pockets, yeah, I'm feeling alright.
They might not be the best choice in terms of role models, but I love what these guys do, how they live. They make me feel content with drifting, yet are inspiring in a sense. They just live without obsessing over all this modern day stuff, and don't seem to worry too much about being rich or famous. Just having fun. Life goals right there. In the vast landscape of independent music, Dustin Hayes is a standout act. For over a decade, he and his friends have been releasing music under the name Walter Mitty and his Makeshift Orchestra, traveling from basement to coffee shop to peddle their unique brand of acoustic folk punk, complete with kazoo solos and gang vocals. I've wanted to make this video for ages, but I was intimidated to start, because when you talk about Walter Mitty and his Makeshift Orchestra, you crack open a multiverse filled with zany characters and strange talents. The lore is mouth-wateringly rich, and the characters are intensely relatable. Walter Mitty is fruit stripe gum that never runs out of flavor.
Alright, long story short. I started recording songs on my computer under the name Walter Mitty. Chris is my best friend since kindergarten, got him in on it. We moved to community college, we got Milk in on it. Yes, maybe a year later.
You need a real musician, I got it.
Wait! It's kind of true. We needed to sound better. Jake came in. Jake's our best friend since we were 4. We met Russell in community college in San Luis Obispo. For this tour, we called him and said, hey dude, you're kind of good at music and you have your shit together. Do you want to come on tour with us? There's Russell. That's the history of the band.
Dustin adopted the pseudonym Walter Mitty in 2007. He didn't want to put his real name on his music, so he chose an obscure literary character, one who would gain immense popularity a few years later. In 2009, the band began taking shape. Early formations of Walter Mitty began when Dustin was still in high school. Before we get too deep into the story of Walter, we need to briefly touch on Dustin's record label, Making New Enemies. You know how electronics contain motherboards, a circuit which allows communication between the crucial components of a system? That's what Making New Enemies is for Dustin and Walter. It's the Elmer's glue that allows the Walter multiverse to function. Making New Enemies is self-described as an art collective / utopian cult / soul posse, which couldn't be more accurate because it's effectively a channel for Dustin and his friends to showcase their work. It's inspiring to see a label doing what they want, not worrying about profits or popularity. Because for Walter, it's never been about those things. This utopian cult has been operating since 2009 and still has the same carefree, let's just have fun attitude they started with. They've cracked the code and discovered that goodness is best achieved through the freedom of individuals to act independently. Making New Enemies is a blank screen, and their friends are the projector. Walter Mitty and his Makeshift Orchestra feels like a group of suburban kids who checked into DIY music and threw away the key, leaving no chance for escape. While DIY has its drawbacks and limitations, it's perfect for Walter. They can do whatever they want and their vision is 100% theirs. I've been observing Dustin and Walter since early 2013, and it seems that's one of their highest held values, keeping it within themselves and not letting it get too far away. Dustin has even said they'll never break up, just fall asleep often. He says it's something they'll always have as friends. And how many friends can say they played a concert for a bum camp in the deep jungle of Gainesville on a makeshift palm tree amphitheater? When they were starting out, they used coolers for kick drums, a guitar pick on a computer keyboard for a washboard sound. Let's Get Breakfast is Chris playing with his hands on a hardshell guitar case. They've even used a half-empty Coke can, a vase, and a hearth. If it could make noise, it was subject to being used in a Walter recording. Their recording process can be described as a living room / bedroom, a bunch of acoustic instruments, and GarageBand. To this day, that's still how they do it. Dustin says they've just gotten better at it with time. In the first 2 years of their existence, Walter Mitty dropped an album and an EP, Every Town Needs a Cowboy and Cliché Definitions of Success. Both projects contained a warm, fuzzy, lo-fi indie rock vibe, giving us a taste of what would come shortly thereafter.
I just spent another hour on the 55. Shelby fucking Jacobson was on my mind.
The following year, in 2011, Walter released an 8-song project titled Overwhelmed and Underdressed. This is the album that pops into my mind when I think of Walter Mitty. It's their most iconic in terms of album art and lyrical content. No joke, this album has at least 50 outstanding one-liners that'll make you question everything about everything. Dustin would never admit to this, but he's a lyrical mastermind. He's simply a genius when it comes to constructing words that'll live rent-free in your head. His lines make me think about things I've thought of before, just in new, different, and scary ways. His observations are uniquely his, and the way he relates himself to the world is so oddly relatable. Here are 3 of my favorite Walter lyrics that highlight Dustin's talent as a songwriter. I've got weird values and radical thoughts about breakthrough. If I told you, it would just scare you, so I gotta act like I'm caught up in the same undertow. Yes, I understand, I'm only who I think they think I am, but God, it gets confusing with my pendulum moods. You see, the world is just as gorgeous as it's a giant disaster, and somewhere back and forth you realize nothing really matters. At this point in the manga, we're in 2014, and Walter Mitty is set to release their breathtaking LP, Well Soon. They also have a semi-consistent lineup they're working with, which is perfect because they'd be going out on tour that fall. In the lineup, we got Dustin, you know him, he's cool, he's Walter, he rocks. Next, we got Russell and Jake, 2 of the chillest dudes you could run into. And then, we have Chris, Dustin's childhood best friend. Now, Chris actually has his own project called Sour Guy, and if you like Walter, you'll enjoy Sour Guy. Matter of fact, he actually dropped an album this year called New Juice that you should go check out. The final member of the 2014 Walter lineup is the one and only Milk Flood. I'm pretty sure that's his legal name, and he also releases music under it. His artistic output could be described as weird and chill, constantly experimenting with new sounds and techniques. A lot of people say he's way ahead of his time. Believe it or not, he also dropped an album this year that you should go check out. After releasing Well Soon, naturally, they wanted to tour off it. And who better to tour with than Modern Baseball? So they planned a big, full US tour. And on the West Coast leg of it, they hopped on the Mobo/Knuckle Puck tour. The year prior, they jumped on a portion of Mobo's summer tour and evidently became friends, so Modern Baseball asked if they wanted to come play on their next tour. I was able to catch one of the shows at Chain Reaction, and it was fantastic. After playing their set, they were hanging out at the merch table. Eventually, my cousin and I decided to go over and say what's up. I asked if they had shirts, and they said something to the effect of, "Oh, so-and-so is screen printing some right now." And to this day, that's one of the most badass things I've ever heard a band say. After the Well Soon tour, things got a little shaky. No one knows all the details, but from around the end of 2014 to the beginning of 2017, things were quiet. But at the same time, they also weren't, because Making New Enemies, aka people involved in the Walter universe, had begun working on a TV show.
Sunday night salad.
This is where the multiverse gets cracked wide open with a whole new cast of wily characters. Sunday Night Salad is a variety TV show. It's been described as Portland's real-life Wayne's World, and it's actually phenomenal. It's genuinely tough to explain the feeling of the show, but Dylan Eggleston sums it up in 9 words. This dialogue mocks pop culture, hip society, I think. My first time tuning in, my thought was, wow, there are people that understand my sense of humor. It contains skits, commentary, beer reviews, live performances, motivational speeches. I'm getting overwhelmed just trying to remember what even goes on. The show is hosted by Croff, aka Alex Crawford, and co-hosted by Milk Flood. The first thing you need to know about Sunday Night Salad is that Alex Crawford is a sleazebag.
It's funny you say that because the last time I was on by a I had to pay double, but that's not what we're here for.
In a 2017 interview conducted by Willamette Week, he states, "I'm playing myself, but the whole vibe I'm trying to create is a washed-up talk show host that used to be on network television. My character can never escape his flaws. He's had multiple divorces and vague addiction issues. He has many vices and will never regain his stardom that he alludes to, but we never see." The show opens with a bizarre skit, followed by the Sunday Night Salad theme song. The subject matter can range from having Bob Marley stay at your house to illegally selling bees. Following the skit, Croft introduces the first segment. Sunday Night Salad has a small cast of recurring characters and sections. Dustin routinely plays an amateur journalist named Arthur Might. The show is an overall embarrassment to Arthur's journalism career, but he continues on to appease Croft.
Dude, the show is such an embarrassment to your career. Do not do it.
Hank Kegstand provides us a steady stream of local beer reviews.
Good thing I like it spicy. Well, here we go.
If you're feeling down, Kyle B. Hart is always there to motivate you. He has a way with words.
Kyle B, motivate me. Motivate me, baby.
You have a name. I have a name. Everyone on this planet has a name. So why is it that we don't use those names more actively?
You'll also see Ben from the band Hemingway sprinkled in throughout the series.
Everything's cool.
Ben, who do you have there? This is Boone. He is my dog. Oh man, he's my music.
The best part about Sunday Night Salad is how open it feels, meaning you get the feeling that anyone in the Walter universe or their friends were eligible to participate, especially the opening skits. It's clear this show wasn't created to get big, but it's still hard to understand why it didn't gain more traction. Here are some of my favorite snippets from the show.
This will probably be your room.
What you mean, my room? What you mean, possession? Possess a room?
This'll be your room that you sleep in.
Hey, Mom, why don't we get some music going?
Oh,
Helen, put the Jimmy Buffett on the new Bluetooth speakers.
wait. I brought the shins. I brought the shins on wax.
We're opening up the wiener pack, everybody, so just hold your horses, all right? Opening up the wiener pack.
Carter, I was just showing her the four corners of Zha's universe.
You know how I feel about her. Baby, I was gonna propose. This is the kitchen. You know, if you want to make some food. Do you cook a lot?
I'm always cooking up an idea, man, how to break the shackles that bind us. Do you feel me? How about a paying ganja?
That'd be chill. That'd be cool with me. That's cool with you, right?
This is Sunday Night Salad. We've had Modern Baseball on. Very excited for them to debut not one, but 2 new songs. Both
In early 2017, Walter Mitty and his Makeshift Orchestra re-emerged as Walter Etc. Dustin says 2015 and 16 were somewhat off years for the band, but also stated not really because for the most part they were still hanging out together. There are 2 major differences between Walter Mitty and Walter Etc. One being a slightly different lineup, and the other being they were now playing electric, as opposed to acoustic with Walter Mitty. It's basically the same band with a new name. The reason for starting with a new name was to not taint the work of Walter Mitty. Dustin said they just had such a specific sound and wanted to keep it intact, but also wanted to continue on and try new ideas, and thus the birth of Walter Etc. It has more of a beach rock feel to it, accompanied by the familiarity of Dustin's distinctive voice. It's further proof that Dustin could do this forever and probably will. He and his friends are a deep well of never-ending ideas. 2020 has been a tough year for all of us, but in particular for Dustin. If you follow his work, you'll know in March he released the newest Walter Etc. album, dark comedy performance piece of my life. He reluctantly calls it a breakup concept album, and while the events on the album likely happened a while ago at this point, it still feels like Dustin is recovering from them, still figuring out his life without his significant other. The album tells the story of how he and his longtime girlfriend Kate moved back to California from Portland, and then he gets dumped hardcore after coming home from tour. Absolutely crushed and having no other way to process his feelings, he began work on an album. Upon first listen, my thought was, I can't believe he put this out. The lyrics are absurdly personal, honest, sad, and uncomfortable. But the kicker is, you can't turn away or turn it off. Everything just starts to click, and you think to yourself, you gotta be pretty brave to put something like this out into the world. It's hard to find a human being on this earth more humble than Dustin. For over 10 years, he's relentlessly pursued his passions without the slightest hesitation, diving headfirst into the unknown to create beautiful music for our ears. But you'd never know any of this stuff about him unless you heard it from a third-party source. He never boasts or airs his accomplishments on social media, because that's not the point. He does what he does because that's what he does, and that's all there is to it. Dustin Cole Hayes is one of the greatest songwriters of our generation, and I hope he continues to create music forever. Long live Dustin, Walter, and Making New Enemies. Thank you for watching.